or to capture your questions that you may have in the chat box. I will be leaving room and space for you all to ask questions, either from today's presentation or questions that you have right now. I look forward to answering those for you all near the end of today's presentation. With that being said, I want to go ahead and kick us off. Again, this is our first annual State of the Organization address. And really the purpose of tonight is for me to have an opportunity to connect with folks, our donors, our staff members, our board, community members at large, and to really share how we as an organization are doing. We're thinking about COVID and social injustices that have really been prevalent in our community for the last few months now. So I want to share a little bit of an update in regards to how we responded as an organization, and then to also think about how are we moving ahead. I know many of you are aware of gentrification and different issues that are impacting the Hilltop of Tacoma, and being an organization where our mission is to create transformational educational experiences for Hilltop youth and families, and empowering future success in college, career, and community leadership. It's important that we really share what is that continued need, specifically in the Hilltop, and how we are addressing it moving forward as an organization. So that is the why and how I will be rooting our time together. As I transition, it's important for me that you all understand and know our vision as an organization. We envision a vibrant community where our youth and families are lifelong learners who use their diverse gifts to cultivate love, justice, and peace, not just for now, but for generations to come. And as an organization, Peace Community Center is committed to an anti-racism statement. As an organization, we are committed to confronting systemic racism and all forms of oppression to promote personal growth for ourselves as staff members, as community members, social justice, and reconciliation. But we can't continue the story of Peace Community Center without acknowledging our faith-rooted statement. So while Peace Community Center is not a faith-based organization, we acknowledge and recognize that Peace Lutheran Church birthed Peace Community Center out of a deep commitment of love for the Hilltop neighborhood, gifted Peace Community Center to Tacoma, and continues to closely partner with us as an organization to serve Hilltop youth and families today. We are incredibly grateful for the work and the partnership of Peace Lutheran Church. As an organization, I am excited to share that next year, 2021, Peace Community Center will have existed in the Hilltop of Tacoma for 20 years. For those of you who have been on this journey with the organization from its inception, can you just imagine 20 years from now, Peace Community Center still standing strong, still serving students and families in the Hilltop of Tacoma. As an organization, we serve on average approximately 330 students per year. And that's by providing educational and social emotional resources, strategies, one-on-one support, mentorship, tutoring, enrichments. We are so incredibly proud of the great work that we are able to do specifically in the Hilltop of Tacoma. Now, I do want to say that tonight we have a mixed audience. Some of you are learning about Peace Community Center for the first time. Others of you have been along this journey throughout our 20-year history. But I do want to slow down just a little bit and take us from our genesis story of a pathway model education program, and to share just a little about exactly what is it that we do on this pathway model of holistic services that we provide. So for those of you who are new, and for others as a refresher, Peace Community Center exists providing a pathway model of services for students in grades 2 through 12 with connections to college and career. So when we pause and think about our McCarver Scholars program, where we partner with Tacoma Public Schools, we have students in grades 2 through 5, where we have identified students of color from high need families and homes who are seeking academic support. We want to ensure that our students are reading on grade level, that our students have access to early college interventions. Students are starting to think about, what are my gifts and talents, and how do those gifts and talents align with what I'm interested in? But it's important that our students get exposure to STEAM opportunities: science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics. So as an organization, not only are we committed to the academic growth of our students and ensuring that they are reading on grade level and that our students are persisting through each grade, we're also saying these are the early informative years where we want to make sure that our students have an opportunity to really explore and to have fun and to think about, what am I really talented at? What am I gifted in? What are the different career opportunities? And we do that during fun projects and activities during the school day and after school programming. So I'm so incredibly proud of our partnership with the AmeriCorps program. We have our AmeriCorps staff who are working at McCarver. They work with teams of students and they are sitting with them one-on-one, providing that mentorship, making sure that students are getting the academic supports and ensuring that we have those enrichment exposures. As we transition up the pathway model, and mind you, a student can enter at elementary, middle, or high school, but our ideal model is that we would have students come in the grades 2 through 5, and they would stay with us until graduation. But if we talk about middle school, what is it that our Bobcat scholars over at Jason Lee, what are students focusing on? It's really important that as students transition from the fundamental years of elementary and into middle school, that we're helping our students really cultivate and identify their leadership abilities, their identity as civic engagers, and really understanding social justice and their role that they play in that. And also the academic habits of success. We know that starting in high school is too late for our students to be thinking about college and career. That's why we start early in elementary and we continue to develop those skill sets in middle school to ensure that our students are learning the proper way to take notes, how to show up in class, really leaning in and learning how to ask questions and taking risks and being courageous. And they're doing that in a very supportive environment with a AmeriCorps team member who is connecting with them and reaching out to them and making sure that all of the students' needs are being met while they are growing in this academic environment. It's also important at the middle school level that our students continue to have access and practice STEAM opportunities. So really learning and understanding what are the different types of career pathways, and how do I as a student, what GPA do I need to have? What habits of success do I need to have in order to ensure that I'm on track as a high school student and once I graduate to be in alignment with those career opportunities? As we transition into our high school program in grades 9 through 12, we are so excited for our students when they get to high school and they have been working towards this on their pathway model of graduating and thinking about their next steps and transitioning into post-secondary opportunities. At the high school level, we continue with the tutoring, the mentorship, and really focusing and helping our students identify what that 5th year or 13th year plan is, and making sure that our students are taking the right action steps as 9th, 10th, and 11th graders. So in 11th and 12th grade, as they are applying for colleges and universities, as they are thinking about the different career paths that they would like to be on, as they are considering and exploring maybe joining the military, that we have the opportunity as an organization to really fundamentally invest in our students to ensure that academically they are strong, that academically they can apply for their colleges and universities of best fits, and that they have the skill sets that are needed to walk into the workforce or to step into apprenticeship and internship opportunities that will make them very competitive. So in regards to the pathway model, that is an overview from 2nd to 12th grade, and then transitioning into college and career, that we are supporting students specifically from the Hilltop of Tacoma. I do want to take this time and just share a little bit for those of you who may be wondering, just in regards to the 2019-2020 school year, as we think about, well, what was the impacts? What have these services looked like, especially in the midst of COVID? So immediately when schools had to close out of the health and safety for our students, we immediately switched to a virtual platform. And so we didn't allow that to slow us down. We said, how are we going to get these STEAM enrichments, how are we going to continue this? So what we did is we said, we're going to switch to project-based learning. We are going to deliver these weekly packets of materials to every individual student so that they can log on and see their teachers and have their teachers work with them one-on-one on the academic support that they needed to finish out the school year, but then also that students were continuing their access to these STEAM enrichments. And so the response was really, really phenomenal from students and families. I really appreciated the feedback that we received from families that said, just bringing kind of school into the home and families having the opportunity to see the benefits of the one-on-one relationships that our students have with our staff members, the questions that students were able to ask, the support that families were able to receive in supporting their students was really, really instrumental. As an organization last year, even in the midst of COVID, we were able to serve 88 McCarver Scholars. So that was 88 students in grades 2 through 5. 302 Hilltop middle and high school students. We provided 500 hours of after-school supports, 2,642 coaching sessions with our Hilltop Scholars. So as students were preparing for college applications and SAT prep. And then we began a reading assistance program for our first grade students at McCarver. So while we serve grades 2 through 5, really thinking about how can we start even earlier in supporting the first grade students. I'm really excited to share that 100% of our 14 scholars that were active graduated on time. Very proud of them. 9 of those students enrolled in college this fall in 2020, and we had one of the students enlist into the military. And our students earned nearly $130,000 in local and national scholarships that was awarded to our seniors. So again, we're just very, very proud because of community members like you and donors who really stepped in to help us to continue the work that we do and to be responsive to ensuring that our families had access to technology in their homes, ensuring that our families were able to access Wi-Fi. And I was very grateful that we were able to provide gift cards for food and meals to our families that were impacted by COVID. As we transition into the 2020-21 school year, many of you know that Tacoma Public Schools and many neighboring schools in the area are starting in a virtual format and setting, or students are starting off with remote learning. We also will be kicking off a virtual after-school program, and it will look very similar to the work that we did at the end of the last school year. So we are purchasing the materials and the supplies for our students. We are still making sure that our students have connections with a caring mentor who will be checking in with them one-on-one, checking in and seeing how students are faring in this virtual environment. I had the privilege of sitting with some students a few weeks back, and I was asking, what are you most excited about and what are you most concerned about as we move into this virtual setting? And our elementary students were sharing that they're most concerned that their teachers won't know how amazing they are, or that they're kind, or that they're a good person. And when you think about the connections that our students make every single day in the classroom and outside of the classroom, thinking about the connections that students have on the playground and at lunch and in passing, and just those interactions with a caring adult, virtual setting eliminates that to a lot of degree. And so it's going to be really important for us as an organization that we are connecting with our students and really thinking about their social emotional health during this time, and making sure that we are creating space to let our students know that they matter, that we care about them, and creating social opportunities. Will we still be academically focused? Absolutely. But we also know that as our students are going through a virtual school day, we want them to have opportunities at the end of the day to connect. Just like we as adults need that, our students absolutely need that. And so the social emotional strategies and toolbox and filling our students' cups, that will be a main priority for us in our after-school virtual programming, in addition to making sure that our students are still receiving and practicing strong habits of success that are ensuring that they are persisting through this fall as we transition, hopefully, into being back into school come the next semester in 2020-21. So that was one of the questions that we received, was in regards to how are we providing supports. I do want to share that fall programming for peace will kick off on the 28th. We are accepting applications right now. So if you know an elementary, middle, or high school student who is interested in being a part of our program and services, please encourage them to pick up an application and to apply, because we are so very excited. Now that I've shared a little bit about how our services, what our focus will be in the fall, I also just want to share and transition to our strategic plan. Many of you participated and provided invaluable, oh my gosh, it was just amazing the feedback that you all provided for us as part of the strategic planning process. And I do want to share, because something that came up quite a bit was the impacts of gentrification in the Hilltop of Tacoma. I do want to say that despite what we are seeing, there's still a need in the Hilltop. There is still a need for an organization like Peace Community Center that is committed to diversity, that is committed to Black and Brown students, that is committed to education as an empowerment tool for students and families. We, in our data, were able to identify that there are 23,300 residents residing in the Hilltop specifically. 18.4 are adults with a bachelor's degree. 31% are families living below poverty with children under the age of 18. And 55% of families identify as renting as opposed to owning their home. These were actually themes and trends that we heard from family members, community members, in regards to how can Peace Community Center as an organization be responsive to the changing demographics and the changing landscapes within our community. And so with that being said, thank you, Miranda, for having our strategic plan notes up. I did want to spend some time going over, well, what is it that Peace Community Center is going to be focusing on moving ahead? The first priority or focus area that you see there is continuing to establish academic rigor and leadership development, specifically within our scholars. We want our scholars to really see themselves as scholar. When you think about the term and the word scholar, that carries a bit of weight to it. And we are continuing to establish a program where our students are striving for academic excellence, whatever that standard may be for themselves personally, but then also thinking about what is the standard and expectation in regards to our students for enrollment into post-secondary opportunities and to internships and apprenticeships. So really creating a culture and a community and an environment where our students are driven to say, this is my college goal, this is my career goal, and I know that I have to take these steps as a student in order to get there. It's important that we continue to maintain strong relationships with our families and our partnership with Tacoma Public Schools and each of the schools that we serve. So McCarver Scholars, our Jason Lee Bobcat Scholars program in each of the high schools. In order for us to have that academic rigor, we're not looking to work in separate from the goals and objectives of Tacoma Public Schools. We want to be a collaborative partner. We want to support the rigorous goals that the schools are setting for students. And so we plan to walk in alignment through ongoing relationship and communication to ensure that we are supporting and collaborative of those goals. Next, it's important to, as an organization, that our students are really striving in earning a 3.0 or higher GPA. We know GPA is an indicator for students in regards to enrollment into post-secondary institutions and opportunities. And so any student that comes into the pathway model, we are open and we want every student who says, I want to go to college, I want to have a STEAM-focused career opportunity, or, you know, I just want the leadership development and support. We are, as an organization, any GPA that a student comes in with, they should be better and improved and see significant growth because of their time being in our pathway model. And so we are very much committed to that mentality moving forward, but also our practices as an organization. We look forward to improving our scholars' community leadership and footprint. So really thinking about our students, seeing the Hilltop of Tacoma as a community that they love and a community with opportunity to bring their gifts and talents and to serve and to invest in the Hilltop. And so we are excited over the next 3 years to really foster and develop from elementary to high school opportunities for our students to engage in leadership and civic engagement opportunities. We are also looking forward to creating a robust internship and apprenticeship program. Now, this is a 3-year strategic plan. This will not happen necessarily in this current school year, but right now we're really thinking about the relationships, the partners, the business leaders that are interested with partnering with an organization like Peace Community Center to bring opportunities to our students. It's very important that our students have opportunities to connect with, not just earning great grades, but having the opportunity to see what that can get them to, where it can get them in regards to how they are growing and what they are striving for as students. So we're excited to continue to identify the different leaders of business and internship opportunities within our communities to be able over the next 3 years, bring those opportunities into the organization. The next focus area for us as an organization is to improve our organizational vitality. One huge commitment of that is becoming an anti-racist organization, providing employees professional development and anti-racism training and resources, establishing a culture where our employees and volunteers identify and seek to dismantle systemic racism, and establishing a culture where courageous conversations are held within and outside of the organizations. And we aim to foster a community that is committed to contributing to racial reconciliation. And I just have to say, as coming into the organization, Peace Community Center has a long-standing history and commitment to being an anti-racist organization. I'm very excited to move forward on a higher level. We are going to have a community advisory board that we will be kicking off and working with community members, of which we will be sharing our data and outcomes of what's happening within the organization. And so having community voice and perspective reflected in the work that we do is going to be really astronomical as we think about being an anti-racist organization and having diverse voices reflected in our decision making and having a response to the work that we do. The next one is producing mentally and physically thriving employees and volunteers. In this great work that we have the privilege of doing, we have really high talented, strong folks, and we also want to make sure that they're healthy and well. And so as an organization, we are prioritizing cultural and community events on a monthly basis, creating a culture where folks are taking time off and not feeling like they're working so hard that they can never take time off. Administering quarterly surveys to ensure that we're getting the right feedback from our staff members in regards to how we are doing as an organization and meeting those mental health needs. But then also retaining staff for an average of 3 years or more within the organization. And so sometimes in nonprofits, we can see a little bit of higher turnover, and we want folks to have opportunities to not only be healthy and well while they are doing their work, but having opportunities to grow up within leadership opportunities within our organization. The next focus area would be attaining collaborative community partnerships, and that's working in partnership with Peace Lutheran Church. So we are so excited. Out of the strategic plan, as I mentioned earlier, families really expressed a need for us as an organization, in addition to our core values around education for youth, to address employment and housing, mental health, and adult education needs within the Hilltop community. And so we have a beautiful facility and building, and we are so excited in partnership with the church to identify employment, housing, and adult education needs, establishing relationships and partnerships to provide services in employment, housing stability. In a lot of the survey responses, families were saying, we would just love additional information on home buyers classes. We just want to know how to purchase a home, getting that information, that data out. So it's not that we're moving necessarily into directly impacting affordable housing, but definitely making sure that families are receiving the information that they need in regards to retaining home ownership. And so through that, we are really indirectly and directly impacting affordable housing access, especially in the work in partnership with Peace Lutheran Church. And then finally, really focusing on mental health resources, not only for our scholars and our families, but the Hilltop community at large. And our last focus area as an organization is really establishing data and technology resources. If nothing else, within our organization, COVID definitely revealed the things that we knew, but it became more true and real to us just around our technology needs. And so we are really excited to invest and have opportunities and partnerships and funding that allows us to think about our data collection processes and how we're able to streamline our data in partnership with Tacoma Public Schools, information that we're receiving and the information we're tracking in-house to make continue our data-informed decision-making as an organization. So I am really, really excited for this continued focus area and investment over the next 3 years. And also thinking about our access to just laptops and new servers so that we can continue this work with excellence moving forward. And that concludes my overview of our 2020-23 strategic plan. You will have the opportunity to identify, review, look over the strategic plan. We'll have it on our website. And at this time, I would actually like to transition because we have questions that were previously provided and questions that may be in the chat box right now that Miranda Martins has been keeping track of. And Miranda, I am ready.
All right, well, hello everybody. My name is Miranda Martins. I'm the Individual Giving Manager at Peace Community Center, and I will be facilitating the question and answer portion of today. Thank you all for being here. So we have some questions that you all had previously submitted, but then yeah, exactly as Denice said, feel free to put more questions in the chat and we can see how many we can get to today. So first off, Denice, if you, we have a question here about, are there any remote volunteer opportunities this fall?
That's a great question. We do have remote volunteer opportunities. We will begin program on the 28th, September 28th. And at that time, folks will be able to log on in the after school space. Let me just say, we're still working with Tacoma Public Schools. TPS is being very responsible in regards to how they're working with partners and with students during the school day. But for after school space, we definitely have opportunities for folks to tutor students and to mentor students, and we look forward to sharing that information on our website.
Okay, great. Another question was about self-care. How are staff practicing self-care?
That's a really great question. Thank you for that. You know, we are really seeking a variety of different ways, being very intentional, as I mentioned earlier, not only for our students, but for staff members as well, to create those water cooler conversations. And so I know Miranda could share a little bit, even within the development team, being intentional at this time. We are all meeting up. And we are just going to share what's happening in our life right now, because I miss seeing you, I miss seeing your face, and I just want to be able to share life updates with you. So that's one way that staff members are being real intentional about their health. And then the other way is that I've been really prioritizing that staff are scheduling and taking time off. And I am already seeing the benefits and the impact of that in regards to folks realizing and recognizing, hey, we're going to hold each other down. We're going to hold the organization down. You go take your time off, rejuvenate yourself, and come back. And it has just been a tremendous blessing to the organization and to each of us to have folks to be able to take that time to step away, to be with family, and then to come back.
Perfect. Yeah. And next question, are there scholarships available to scholars? And what does our scholarship program look like?
Oh, so we do have our Bill Hanawalt Scholarship, which is an opportunity for us to provide students some opportunities to have unrestricted funds when they graduate as seniors, whether they are going to a 2-year, a 4-year, or an apprenticeship or job opportunity. So we're very grateful for that scholarship for our students. And then we, outside of Peace Community Center and that particular scholarship, we partner and ensure that our students are applying for our Palmer Scholars within community and also our Act 6 scholarship. So making sure that students are very familiar and aware, Elizabeth Wesley, of the local and national scholarship opportunities for them.
All right, that sounds great. And just a reminder for everybody, we're cruising through these questions. So if you have any more questions you want to add to the list, feel free to put that in the chat box. Moving on to the next question, where do you see Peace Community Center in 5 years?
5 years from now, I want to be able to report back to community. We want to be able to report back increased numbers of students that we are able to serve annually. We want to be able to report back in new partnerships, strategic partnerships that are allowing us to really deepen our impact and our work. So whether that is thinking about the internship opportunities or scholarship pathways for our students, but then also thinking about being able to demonstrate to community the impact that our organization is having specifically in the Hilltop. So some of those indicators that I talked about earlier around mental health, home ownership for our students' families, those are areas that we want to be able to come back and say, because we provided these services, because of our presence, we've seen an increase in these areas. So that's where I see Peace 5 years from now.
Yeah, that's great. Another question's kind of forward-looking and more positive. Is there a silver lining to this pandemic in regards to our programs?
Is there a silver lining to the pandemic? That's an interesting question. I would say that the pandemic is very serious, very real, and has had a traumatic impact on our community. You know, I think about people who've lost their lives to the pandemic. As an organization, I would say a silver lining would be the opportunity for us to think about, to rethink about, or to reconsider how we are doing programming. So we did see during our virtual connections, especially with our high school programs, more students engaged and involved. So whereas we were physically had the center open and students can physically come into the center, when COVID hit, we then switched to a virtual model where more students were showing up virtually than they were physically in the building. And so that is now a process that we're looking to implement moving forward, where students have the opportunity to connect online for connections with their academic coach. So definitely have also just seen the opportunities and ways for us as an organization to stretch ourselves and thinking about how we are providing services to students virtually, and what does quality virtual services look like. And so I've greatly appreciated the way that my team has come together and really kind of pushed themselves beyond capacity, but have done it with excellence. And so that has been one thing that I've been definitely proud of in the silver lining.
Yeah, that's a really great way to think about this. Thank you to everybody entering questions into the chat. We have a question here. Are there any immediate needs for the programs?
Great questions. Greatly appreciate the opportunities for those of you who are interested in volunteering. So really thinking about volunteers at our high school and really across the board, high school program, middle school, and elementary. We're definitely excited to have you folks come and be a part of our virtual programming. Financial support is ongoing for us as an organization, and thinking about the financial investments in regards to continuing to provide technology, continuing to think about the curriculum that we are offering our students, and supporting families, continuing our meals program that we offer. I didn't mention that earlier, but we provide hot meals to our elementary and high school students. And so financial supports that allow us to continue to do that for our students and families is going to be really important moving forward.
All right, and our next question is about the housing portion of our strategic plan. What types of partnerships is Peace Community Center seeking around housing as the Hilltop continues to become more and more expensive to live in?
Definitely, again, are seeking opportunities to share information with families around retaining their homes, access to affordable housing, and then also home ownership. So home buyer classes, and this is open and can expand. I'm sharing specifically from what families have shared with us that they would like to see more information, but those are the main areas that families have identified that they would like to have additional resources and information.
Okay, that's great. Another question here, with the high school virtual shift, has there been expanded enrollment for high school students, or is that anticipated?
We definitely are putting strategic efforts into our enrollment practices. We have not seen that shift yet. We are currently in the enrollment process. We do hope that that's something that students are being very intentional about, been really asking Tacoma Public Schools and our partners to get the word out there to our students of, we want to make sure that our students are receiving these wraparound support. So whether it's Peace or another organization, that all of our high school students are finding ways to be connected and engaged to get that additional support, especially in a virtual setting. I think it's important now more than ever. So I anticipate and hope that we will see an increase. Our goal right now is definitely to hit our target enrollment numbers for our high school students.
Okay, and our last question for now, unless more people enter some into the chat, how can other organizations begin partnership with Peace Community Center?
Oh, I would very much welcome the opportunity to have a discussion and conversation. As I've shared in our strategic plan, our focus areas, I would love to meet with other organizations, and so that we can have a conversation to see what does that look like in this year, the next 5 years, in regards to, again, just us meeting the needs of the Hilltop community, but then also how we as an organization can be of service and support to other communities as well. So I would very much welcome a coffee, a virtual meeting, to be able to sit down and just share a little bit more about our direction as an organization, what that organization's goals are, and how we can partner strategically moving forward.
That's great. Thank you for all the questions, everybody. That's all we have for now. We can maybe give it a few more minutes and see if anybody else, we invite additional questions as anyone has them.
For anyone that's uncomfortable right now, this is like proper teacher wait time. Well, with that being said, I would like to thank each of you for joining us today again for our first annual State of the Organization address. I am scrolling through and seeing a lot of very familiar faces. It is such a pleasure to see each of you. Thank you all for being here today. It was such a pleasure. And again, I welcome phone calls, emails, virtual coffee dates to be able to share a little bit more about anything you've heard or learned today. Thank you all so very much for your time.